Colossal clash. White gorilla versus red dinosaur. Glass rains down as commuters sprint beneath collapsing signage. Paramedics yank a gurney back as shockwaves shove the street sideways. Crowds scatter through dust as signage flickers and traffic locks in place. Shattered offices breathe paper into the street like white confetti. A final shock flips the bus. Bystanders dive behind a concrete planter. Gorath wrenches a radio mast free, metal screaming against bolts. Rexon meets the swing, jaws clamping, steel snaps like dry bone. The mast shears, a tail whip sends a glass crown sliding from its peak. Steel rains in ribbons while Gorath braces against a sliding avalanche. The tower's top slides free, a sunbright avalanche swallows the avenue. Evacuees stream toward the metro as amber guides strobe urgency. A mother yanks her child closer, eyes fixed on the waiting car. Volunteers redirect crowds, hands steady, gestures economical. A terrified dog barks as doors hiss and the platform thins. Doors seal, amber arrows chase along the wall toward the next train. Hale watches missiles arc as giants clash through the intersection. Impacts blossom, Hale's jaw tightens as reports crackle in. Below, a downed helicopter smolders across a scarred plaza. Hale listens, disbelief threading the clipped radio chatter. The Titans push through blasts, unstoppable, grinding forward. Morning light spills across towers as the city wakes, unaware. A tremor ripples the street. Pigeons burst skyward in a flash of wings. Billboards pulse cyan while windows quiver almost imperceptibly. Vendor hands hover over crates as a ripple wrinkles the asphalt. The city inhales, pigeons thin into dots above glittering lanes. An impossible shadow sweeps facades, warmth drains to a reddish dim. Cyclists skid, palms splayed, eyes locked upward in shock. A colossal tail grazes an antenna, metal screams across the block. Windows quiver, pigeons blot the sky for a breath, then scatter. Street lamps vibrate, the red tint lingers like a warning flare. Gorath rises behind a glass crown, white fur bright against blue. A fist slams the helipad, paint spiderwebs, grit leaps. Green plates gleam, dust streaks the snowy fur, and straps bite tight. A thunderous chest thump ripples banners along neighboring towers. Cameras on rooftops catch his glare, the city reflected in his armor. Rexon cleaves into frame, lacquer red scales blazing under noonlight. Honeycomb vents glow, obsidian claws carve grooves in metal. A furnace-hot exhale paints the air with wavering heat. Street lamps subtly bow as Rexon's presence radiates pressure. Red and green glints duel across windows, a promise of impact. Gorath launches from a tower lip toward Rexon, armor flashing. Impact detonates a halo of glass, a rooftop garden bursts apart. Concentric cracks ladder the street, cars bounce like toys. On a skybridge, two workers duck as snapping cables scythe past. Shards glitter in midair. The city holds its breath between titans. The giant red cat and the white bride, a wedding at sea. Red Tomcat steadies himself at the rail, fixing his bow tie and breathing in. White she-cat approaches, veil trailing, meeting his glance with quiet assurance. Deckhands adjust pedals and pennants, while the captain's announcement readies the deck. Red Tomcat checks the aisle's distance, centering himself between arch and open sea. White she-cat pauses near the pedestal, veil breathing as she studies the rings. Red Tomcat strides past mirrored pillars as rainbows flicker across the marble. White she-cat practices a slow breath by the porthole, lilies steady in her paws. They notice each other across the corridor, posture aligning like a shared heartbeat. The captain checks the script, nodding them onward as the overture steadies. Red Tomcat adjusts his boutonniere. White she-cat lifts the lilies, ready to begin. The horizon burns gold as Red Tomcat waits beneath the arch, framed in amber. White she-cat enters from the stern, veil catching sparks of the fading Sunday. At the aisle's midpoint, their paws meet, and the ship's roll steadies them. The captain opens the book. Vows unfold as lanterns awaken in the deepening blue. Rings exchanged, they circle into a first dance as waltz lilts over the water. Night blossoms with white and crimson fireworks as they share a lingering kiss. The year of ash and the plague. Medina's market swells with pride as rumors of distant victories spread. Umar steps into the flow, attentive to every boast and blessing. Traders hail goods from Yemen, Syria, and Egypt with proud grins. Umar moves on, quietly measuring wealth against responsibility. Umar oversees in silence, insisting on fairness before favor. Figures are traced, names spoken, portions assigned without bias. Umar links material ease with devotion, guiding hearts as well as ledgers. Orders are given, distribute with equity, account for every measure. Umar kneels on the scorched plain, black ash clinging to his fingers. He studies the ground, weighing the omen of a withered land. A gust lifts ash like gray snow, veiling the desolation. Umar closes his fist around the dust, resolve hardening. Gaunt caravans creep through soot, eyes shielded from biting grit. Ash billows, swallowing hoofprints, as if erasing the road itself. A driver lifts a canteen, finds only a last bitter scrap of damp. The line pauses, then pushes on into the colorless haze. Refugees stream toward Medina, leading skeletal animals to the gate. Umar steps forward, signaling the hungry inward without delay. Guards shift aside, clearing the passage for the weak to enter. Umar meets a gaunt elder's gaze, ushering him to safety within. Crates open to reveal dwindling stores under the bright courtyard Sunday. Umar directs measured portions, eyes steady, despite scarcity. Two women clutch small sacks, whispering prayers as they receive. Umar nods approval, ensuring equity with every weighed portion. A humble bowl of bread and fat steams on a low table by lamplight. Umar beckons a desert traveler to sit and eat first. The guest drags each morsel through the gleam, hunger laid bare. Hearing of deprivation, Umar vows to abstain until people revive. A servant presents milk and butter, expecting Umar's oath to be eased. The servant reports the price paid, hopeful for approval. Umar orders the milk and butter to be given away in charity. He refuses indulgence while people hunger around him. The women accept the charity, hope flickering in drawn faces. Night settles, lamplight reveals Umar's gaunt, darkened features. Prayers conclude. The bowl waits as Umar remains in restraint. Only after prayers does he taste a little, matching his people. Silence lingers as the lamp humbles shadows along the columns. Urgent letters are dictated for swift aid from Al-Sham and Iraq. A scribe dips reed into ink, recording desperate needs and routes. Routes across desert and sea are named with careful precision. Seals close the pleas that will cross sands and harbors. At a frontier wall, Amr ibn al-As reads Umar's plea. Resolve kindles. He orders caravans and ships prepared. He promises a line of camels from Palestine to Medina. Orders ripple outward, runners and riders depart at once. In a sunlit hall, Muawiyah studies the appeal for relief. He signals stewards. Inventories swell with cloaks and grain. Thousands of camels are counted and assigned southward. Final orders roll out to supply the parched routes. Umar postpones zakat during famine, weighing duty against hunger. He declares, no collection now, relief must reach the weakest first. He orders doubled shares later, one for hardship past, one for the current year. He seals the ruling, committing fairness to record and conscience. Umar gathers notables to explain leadership through shared hardship. He affirms, productivity may thrive, but justice and balance must anchor it. Merchants listen closely, weighing profits against conscience and community. Umar concludes, prosperity serves the people only when guarded by equity. A courier arrives breathless, with word of plague from Palestine and Syria. Umar takes the scroll, jaw tightening as he reads the spreading names. The names of the fallen grow, the court hushes as the weight settles. Umar composes himself, turning from grief toward necessary action. Umar rides north with an escort to organize the newly opened lands. Dust trails gather as Sarg near Taba comes into view. Commanders await with grave reports as the escort closes ranks. He dismounts, ready to hear and decide amid dust, and Sunday. Under a flapping awning, commanders report the sickness sweeping ranks. Yazid and Shurabil add details, each post marked with losses. Shurabil confirms spread between camps, urging swift coordination. Umar listens, then calls for senior emigrants to consult without delay. Abu Ubaidah gathers officers around a sand street table. He pledges relief, promising thousands of mounts with food. Officers nod, as assignments are divided with care. He orders 4,000 mounts, prepared with careful distribution. A final glance fixes timelines before messengers depart. Saad seals orders for 1,000 camels bearing flour. Quartermasters adjust saddlebags, tightening every knot twice. Saad oversees wait lists, preventing loss across scorched distances. Final sacks are hoisted for inspection before dispatch. With a nod, Saad releases the convoy to the south. Ships creak under flour sacks and jars of rendered fat. Sailors shoulder amphorae, jogging up the gangplank. Amr checks manifests, aligning sea and desert supply lines. Whistles and signals coordinate convoys bound for the Hijaz. Amr watches the first hull edge seaward, satisfied. A river of camels crests the horizon with the first relief. He steps forward to greet Abu Ubaidah and entrust distribution. The column bends toward Medina under careful guidance. Umar walks beside the loads, checking bundles and seals. He directs the train to staging grounds outside the city. Abu Ubaidah hands sacks to families as Umar oversees fairness. Two boys, cloaked against ashwind, stare in wonder. Umar adjusts the queue, ensuring the weakest are served first. Abu Ubaidah checks, seals, and hands out exact measures. Relief turns into quiet gratitude across the courtyard. By lamplight, Umar gathers early emigrants and Ansar to consult. Two elders lean in, their voices low, disagreement respectful but real. One argues faith demands continuing, another urges prudent return. Umar listens, face set, absorbing every word without haste. The room hums with dissent, yet respect binds every heart. At first light, Quraysh leaders settle on a single path: return. Umar orders mounts prepared, and the return announced at dawn prayer. Men rise quietly, conviction steady, details set in motion. Scrolls sealed, Umar's gaze fixes on the way home. Outside, the camp stirs, summoned by a decision all can bear. Abu Ubaidah asks gently, "Is this flight from God's decree, O Umar?" Umar answers, "We flee from one decree to another, like a shepherd's choice." The metaphor lands, men nearby exchange relieved glances. Abu Ubaidah nods, question answered without pride or hurt. The encampment readies, direction set towards safety and obedience. Abdul Rahman arrives late, breath quick, message held carefully in mind. He recalls the Prophet's guidance: do not enter plague lands, nor flee from within. Umar praises God, the return is confirmed, murmurs settle. Faces in the crowd ease, discipline returning to their stance. Decision and doctrine now align, the camp prepares to move. Back in Medina, Umar drafts a summons concealed as business. His words hide concern for Abu Ubaidah within formal lines. Couriers receive the wax-sealed letter and final instructions. Umar's eyes shine. Foresight weighs heavier than sleep. The messengers vanish into the lanes, hoofbeats receding toward Sham. In a dim chamber, Abu Ubaidah reads Umar's letter in silence. He understands Umar's care yet resolves not to abandon his army. He dictates a reply of affection and steadfast duty to the scribes. The seal is pressed. The commander's love and resolve are set in ink. Umar receives the letter in Medina and weeps for what he foresees. Maps spread wide. Umar explains moving people to the healthier highlands. He drafts guidance for Abu Ubaidah. Lift the army to open, elevated air. Couriers receive sealed letters and routes marked to higher ground. He briefs aides to relocate families to breezier camps outside low valleys. With orders dispatched, Umar pauses, praying for mercy and success. In a canvas hospice, Abu Ubaidah lies ill among his soldiers. He gives final counsel with calm faith, steadying anxious hearts. The aides bow their heads as the camp absorbs the coming loss. A cup of water, a cloak, a quiet breath, his dignity remains to the end. In a mountain village, Muad assumes command with quiet strength. Illness overtakes him. He urges patience and steadfastness. Two fighters swear to protect civilians as their leader fades. A prayer scarf is folded. The village holds its breath in grief and duty. Amr leads survivors toward higher ridges, declaring dispersion against the plague. He proclaims, "The fire burns where bodies gather. Spread and let it die." Scouts on the ridges wave, marking safe ground above the valleys. Groups peel off along terraces, air flowing free between their camps. The square fills with anxious faces as hunger shadows the city. Umar steps forward, the platform creaking beneath his steady weight. He declares a fast of comfort. No meat, no fat until the people revive. Two elders weep softly, moved by their leader's resolve. The square answers in silence, conviction settling like cool shade. At morning, people stream from Medina toward the open prayer ground. Umar wears the messenger's cloak, taking Abbas by the hand. Hands rise. Umar's beard darkens with tears as supplications begin. Around them, people whisper mercy as the plane holds its breath. Umar raises Abbas's hand to the sky, the plea shared by all hearts. Clouds break. Thunder rolls as faces tilt upward in hope. Umar bows in gratitude as rain thickens into a cleansing veil. Abbas lifts his voice, the prayer carrying over the drumming rain. Two farmers kneel in mud, laughing through tears as the earth drinks. The plain becomes a mirror, relief and praise ripple across the crowd. Days later, the valley wakes, green shoots stitch the ash-gray earth. Umar walks the bank, measuring the flow and the mercy it carries. He calls desert folk to return, promising provisions and mounts. Families gather at the banks, eyes bright with cautious relief. Umar points upriver, arranging transport for the journey home. Sun stripes the stable as fodder, and rations are laid out in rows. Umar inspects the loads, ensuring fair portions for each family. Two stable hands brush camels and cinch straps with practiced care. Umar personally escorts a family, guiding them to their mounts. With nods of thanks, the stable becomes a quiet station of return. Umar meets Abu Ubaidah at the threshold, gratitude bright in his gaze. Umar presents 4,000 dirhams, honoring service and sacrifice. Abu Ubaidah declines with humility, wishing to avoid vanity. Umar insists with precedent and sincerity, seeking acceptance without pride. The gift is accepted in humility, without vanity between them. Long caravans coil across the bright desert toward the Hijaz. Two camel leaders chant hoarsely, keeping the lines steady. Sacks of flour and jars of fat sway in rhythm with each step. A leader scans the horizon, guarding the relief bound south. The supply lines stretch like lifelines over burning earth. Caravans meet envoys at the border mouths of the desert. Umar's envoys act immediately, as instructed. Feed them now. Meat is prepared for the weakest, fat rendered for strength. Measured portions are set aside for the frail and children. The hungry eat at once, no one waits for uncertain rain. Riders race messages to establish stations of bread and porridge. A roadside station is sighted and marked with clear signals. Instructions are delivered for coordinated feeding along the road. Fires are lit, pots set to boil for travelers and the weak. The lifeline extends, post by post, across the empty waste. Huge pots simmer as the city gathers around the common kitchens. Bread is mashed into oil, forming sustaining porridge for the hungry. Umar eats with the people, sharing exactly their portion. He orders a camel butchered between days to lay meat over the mash. Meat is placed over the soaked bread, equal for all. Messengers crowd in with numbers, as lamps tremble against the walls. Umar listens closely, weighing every figure before deciding. A courier recites counts, another presents tokens stamped for rations. Umar adjusts allocations, sending them back out into the dark. With orders sealed, messengers depart swiftly to carry relief onward. Gray light spreads as workers stir cauldrons for the weak and mothers. Umar walks among tents, checking portions with a careful eye. Mothers receive ladles of porridge as workers keep the line moving. Umar puts meat and fat aside for those who cannot reach the tables. He directs runners to deliver these portions into the quiet tents. A measured system takes shape with tokens, tallies, and careful hands. Umar organizes monthly doles of flour, dates, and oil for homes. Record keepers stamp clay tokens, implementing measured equity. Umar reviews lists, ensuring those able to cook receive ingredients. With tokens sorted, runners carry strings to the districts. A shaded room hums with coughs and murmurs under woven blinds. Umar checks the frail and speaks gently to those near the end. He orders shrouds sent and leads prayers for those who passed. Grief does not dull diligence, supplies are counted and restocked. Umar moves on, ensuring every corner receives what is needed. After prayer, the chamber empties, and silence gathers under beams. Umar remains alone, leaning into supplication with steady breath. He eats little, an echo of those who endure the same hardship. In the hush, he prays that his nation not perish in his care. The chamber holds his whispers until dawn threatens the horizon. On breezy slopes, tents scatter like pale stones across green patches. Physicians tend tools with care, preparing for the next line of the sick. Umar inspects the terraces, noting air and spacing with measured approval. Care replaces panic. The mountain air carries a scent like new beginnings. Under a dim sky, Basra's lanes bear the hush of bad news carried fast. Messengers arrive with lists of the fallen and pleas for swift burial aid. Umar's envoys coordinate shrouds and relief, as citizens look on, anxious. Even as fear spreads, help follows close behind, steady and practical. Maps cover the table as reports from Al-Sham reach the leadership corps. Umar hears Amr ibn al-As's report on dispersal to high ground. Approval settles. The guidance has been followed, easing the scourge. Orders are penned to formalize practice across the threatened provinces. Debate swirls under a dim roof, causes argued, fears sharpened. Some blame battlefields, others whisper of wrath and unseen winds. Umar refuses speculation, steering minds back to remedy and justice. Order returns as notes are taken, and claims set aside for real work. A case is brought. Men drank wine in Al-Sham, pleading verses in defense. Jurists confer with Umar, weighing admission and the law's clear line. The penalty is set: 80 lashes and admission of wrongdoing. A scribe records the judgment, witnesses sign, and calm returns to the hall. Ranks assemble under hard sun as discipline is announced. Abu Ubaidah affirms Umar's order with gentle firmness. Those admitting the wrongdoing step forward without protest. Punishment is carried out with restraint, witnessed by the ranks. Instruction completes: justice without malice, health of the community first. Breezes sweep clean air across sparse tents on a bright ridge. Shepherds pass, signaling life's cautious return to the hills. Clean routines resume. Water boils, tools dry in the mountain air. From the ridge, the valley's scattered camps promise safer days. Umar rides toward Al-Sham, dust rising on the coastal road. At Ayla, Umar pauses by a modest bishop's dwelling. An offered replacement is declined for the useful, patched garment. He departs simply equipped, intent on duties ahead. Headquarters rises at Jabiya, tents ordered and paths swept. Umar confers with governors, petitions gather at the fringe. Records of estates and stipends are reviewed with care. Governors depart to towns, the camp hums with purposeful order. A vast crowd gathers under a lucid sky for address and renewal. Umar stands to speak. Muawiyah keeps close at his right. He speaks of justice, mercy, and the secured frontier. The crowd answers with composed assent. The keys of Jerusalem. Jerusalem wakes as dawn washes stone walls with quiet gold. Rooftops glow as courtyards hold breath for arriving footsteps. Old stones gleam, gates wait silent for a promised visitor. Domes listen, alleys lean inward like ears toward the road. Sun crowns the walls, a new day steadies the waiting city. Jerusalem wakes as dawn, washes stone walls with quiet gold. Rooftops glow as courtyards hold breath for arriving footsteps. Old stones gleam, gates wait silent for a promised visitor. Domes listen, alleys lean inward like ears toward the road. Sun crowns the walls, a new day steadies the waiting city. Jerusalem wakes as dawn, washes stone walls with quiet gold. Rooftops glow as courtyards hold breath for arriving footsteps. Old stones gleam, gates wait silent for a promised visitor. Domes listen, alleys lean inward like ears toward the road. Sun crowns the walls, a new day steadies the waiting city. Jerusalem wakes as dawn washes stone walls with quiet gold. Rooftops glow as courtyards hold breath for arriving footsteps. Old stones gleam, gates wait silent for a promised visitor. Domes listen, alleys lean inward like ears toward the road. Sun crowns the walls, a new day steadies the waiting city. Jerusalem wakes as dawn, washes stone walls with quiet gold. Rooftops glow as courtyards hold breath for arriving footsteps. Old stones gleam, gates wait silent for a promised visitor. Domes listen, alleys lean inward like ears toward the road. Sun crowns the walls, a new day steadies the waiting city. Jerusalem wakes as dawn, washes stone walls with quiet gold. Rooftops glow as courtyards hold breath for arriving footsteps. Old stones gleam, gates wait silent for a promised visitor. Domes listen, alleys lean inward like ears toward the road. Sun crowns the walls, a new day steadies the waiting city. Jerusalem wakes as dawn, washes stone walls with quiet gold. Rooftops glow as courtyards hold breath for arriving footsteps. Old stones gleam, gates wait silent for a promised visitor. Domes listen, alleys lean inward, like ears toward the road. Sun crowns the walls, a new day steadies the waiting city. Umar and his servant trade the reins along a stony desert track. Sand ticks on leather. Umar lets the servant mount without fuss. They alternate the burden, stride and breath, finding one rhythm. Wind lifts the cloak hem. The road keeps its uncomplaining beat. A horizon of pale hills receives their small, unwavering figures. They pause at a shallow well ringed with flat, sun-warmed stones. Umar declines gently, inviting his companion to drink first. The servant drinks, their shared shadow pools like a quiet oath. The camel lowers its head, patient, as silence settles around them. Refreshed, they prepare the reins and ready themselves to move on. They crest a low ridge. The distant city glimmers beneath clouds. Umar pauses, nodding toward the walls as if greeting a trust. Clouds drift. The road threads downward like a quiet invitation. Servant adjusts the packs. Umar sets the pace for the last stretch. Together they descend, the city answering with steady, silver light. Within a stone gatehouse, the patriarch watches the road in calm. He murmurs to the envoy. The visitor comes without banners. A sealed parchment rests, its ribbon unbroken, waiting the moment. The envoy shifts, measuring the road and the weight of arrival. The patriarch steadies the parchment, purpose settling like calm rain. They trade places with the camel, neither seeking favor over the other. Umar refuses extra comfort, his gaze gentle but firm. The servant offers to bear more hardship, hope flickering in his eyes. Justice, he reminds, is shared footsteps and unburdened hearts. The road keeps time for them, slow, fair, and unwavering. Stone walls rise immense as they near the hushed city gate. A guard adjusts his helmet, measuring the humble procession. Umar's robe shows dust, his bearing shows order and peace. Behind him, the servant mirrors the quiet rhythm of his steps. The gate holds a breath, waiting to receive them without clamor. Clergy assemble in order as the visitors enter the bright court. The patriarch advances, dignity soft as worn stone. Umar's pace slows, matching the welcome with humble intent. Beside him, the servant steadies the camel with quiet care. Murmurs spread like wind through olive leaves, then still. Respect meets humility beneath the bright arch of old stone. The servant yields space, guiding the camel with deference. Side by side, they turn toward the city's living heart. The arch gathers their shadows, then releases them into day. They pass beneath latticed balconies and shuttered windows, steps even and calm. Two children peek from a doorway, whispering at the simple cloak. Umar nods to the patriarch, mercy worn like an unboastful banner. Windows watch them pass. The city listens without clamor. The wide stone courtyard opens before the holy doors. The patriarch gestures for Umar to enter first. Umar invites the patriarch to lead inside. Servant follows respectfully as the camel is left in shade. The patriarch proceeds, and Umar falls in behind with humility. Cool carved stone and lamplight receive the two leaders. Their footsteps settle as the servant waits by the door. Umar and the patriarch pause in mutual regard. The chamber holds its hush like a witness to history. Servant watches silently as the leaders move inward. Umar and the patriarch step into bright day as eyes gather. A cheer swells, then softens into reverent quiet. Umar lowers the key and turns with a grateful nod. The key glints, a quiet seal before the gathered city. Within a plain chamber, simple hospitality is set out. The patriarch offers refreshment. Gratitude meets restraint. Umar breaks the bread and shares the first piece. For a heartbeat, only the quiet of shared bread remains. Under a colonnade, steps and words move in measured accord. Umar and the patriarch confer about rights and safety. Specifics take shape: worship, homes, markets, open roads. Agreement settles like a charter first written in the heart. At the market's rim, trade arranges itself with cautious order. Umar observes quietly as his servant listens beside him. A brief instruction: let trade continue with calm fairness. Merchants glance up, hope stirring beneath the midday sunday. A broad plateau opens to sky and distant walls. Umar stands still, eyes reflecting the open expanse. The servant lays a clean cloak as a place to stand. A quiet wind moves like a prayer finding its voice. The wind stills as Umar's gaze settles beyond the hills. He glances back to his servant, words measured and quiet. Gratitude, he says, must answer the gifts of this day. The servant lowers his gaze and steps back in respect. Between them, the world narrows to breath and intent. Umar spreads his cloak upon clean stone, hands deliberate. He bows in prayer, posture steady, breath unhurried. Behind him, the servant keeps gentle watch without a sound. The second prostration completes in the same calm measure. A hush settles, the city seems to pause with them. Umar rises and gathers the cloak with careful hands. Sunlight opens over the stones, the servant approaches softly. Their eyes meet, gratitude passes without ornament. A clear path of light lays forward across the ground. Peace lingers, light resting where his prayer had been. At the threshold, the patriarch greets Umar with quiet regard. They speak softly of safeguarding every sanctuary and soul. Assurance is given, a promise settles like a seal. The patriarch inclines, relief easing the weight he carried. Between light and shadow, their accord becomes the passage. In a quiet chamber, Umar dictates while the servant prepares ink. Words become clauses, the servant writes in careful strokes. Umar's voice is even, each term weighed before spoken. The ink sets, sand lifts, and the letters settle to permanence. Together, they review, the document's spine now firm and clear. At the sunlit gate, Umar and the patriarch watch people pass freely. Umar's hand opens gently, signaling leniency for today's levies. Faces ease as word spreads that trade continues undisturbed. The patriarch exhales, relief softening lines that duty had tightened. Side by side, they stand as guardians, not obstacles, to the city's life. Copper light slips through olive leaves as they leave the city's noise behind. Their shadows thread the soil like ink drawn by a careful hand. Umar glances back, wordless, and the servant answers with a nod. Leaves tremble softly as evening gathers its quiet along the walls. The opening of Alia. Maps and letters crowd the stone table as Abu Ubaidah contemplates his message. He writes to Alia, Islam, jizya, or war, spoken with measured resolve. Aides hover, uncertain, his calm steadies the chamber's breath. He folds the letter, seals it, and assigns its path to Alia. With a steady hand, he gestures, carry these words with dignity. At the sunlit gate, he mounts, dust lifting with the ordered ranks. He clasps Sa'id ibn Zayd's hand, entrusting Damascus to his care. Orders pass quietly, sunbeams stripe the drifting dust. With a final nod, the column begins to pull from the gate. The gate shrinks behind them, governance stands firm within. Olive-lined paths wind toward the Judean hills, under a muted sky. Khalid scouts ahead, scanning bends where paths fork and climb. The vanguard adjusts, archers spacing between olive trunks. A distant hamlet flickers. The column lengthens in disciplined silence. Khalid circles back, trading a brief, knowing glance with the commander. Crenellations crown the walls. Banners stir above wary helms. Below the wall, Abu Ubaidah raises a white standard for terms. The wardens exchange glances, measuring the envoy and his banner. The white cloth steadies, a silent request for parley under cloudy light. A horn's absence tells all, terms must be carried within first. Beneath mosaics, monks and the Artaban gather by wavering candlelight. Whispers of a prophecy, one man alone will open the city. Artaban listens, eyes narrowing as the traits are recited. The prophecy settles in the hall, a gravity none can dismiss. Artaban's hand taps the armrest, prepare for the only man they fear. Amr marks the papyrus lines, choosing words sharper than steel. Carry my truce, and weigh every Roman word you hear. The envoy repeats the terms softly, committing tone and clause. Ink dries under sunstripes as Amr seals the dispatch. Listen for what is said and what is not, Amr concludes. Before a semicircle of advisors, the envoy presents the truce letter. Artaban breaks the seal, eyes narrowing at the opening lines. A scoff breaks the hush. No more cities will fall after Ahmd-Ai. The envoy fixes every word in memory, gaze steady and restrained. Advisors murmur. Artaban's verdict hardens into policy. Artaban details the foretold leader's traits. Advisors trade wary glances. Mark these signs, he says. The envoy listens without a word. The envoy mouths each trait, fixing cadence and order. Advisors exchange looks as Artaban's tapping slows to a stop. The envoy bows slightly, committing to carry the description intact. Dust on his cloak, the envoy returns at dusk to the field tent. He relays the prophecy. Amr's eyes sharpen with swift calculation. Amr dictates to Umar, a fierce enemy stands, the land awaits you. The letter closes with deference and urgency in equal measure. Ride hard, Amr says, and let no reply escape your ear. Watchfires ring the hillside as Abu Ubaidah drafts a second letter. He confirms the report and asks Umar for counsel and decision. Aide stands nearby, tense, eyes on the silent city's outline. He seals the message as a courier steps from the firelit dark. Ride, he says softly. Let the caliph's word guide our siege. In Medina's council hall, Umar gathers the companions, eyes intent yet composed. Uthman counsels restraint. Do not ride out, to humble the enemy's pride. Umar absorbs the advice, his resolve disciplined, the hall holding its breath. Murmurs ripple among the elders as scrolls shift and decisions draw near. Umar lets the council settle, preparing to hear the next voice. Ali speaks plainly. Go yourself, and ease the pressure on the besiegers. Light falls over maps, as arguments balance, caution against resolve. Umar weighs both views, his gaze steady, the hall silent with expectation, a silent nod. Umar leans toward Ali's counsel, decision crystallizing. The council rises, preparations implied, purpose replaces uncertainty. Umar steps into the sunlit lanes, ordering preparations for departure. He appoints Ali as deputy in Medina, a trust sealed in few words. Two heralds stride off, proclamations ready for the quarters of Medina. Umar's instructions flow, organized and spare, every step accounted for. Ali turns to his duty in Medina, as the lanes hum with readiness. Beyond the city, Umar mounts a grayish camel. Al-Abbas rides at the fore. A terse address, hasten to jihad before Al-Abbas departs this world. The column aligns, dust lifts as order spreads from the vanguard. Umar's camel steps forward. The army draws purpose from his example. Al-Abbas nods to the scouts, and the column moves out of Medina's edge. On a ridge, scouts signal while Umar dictates letters to gather the armies. The scribe stylus scratches fast. Dates and places set for Al-Jabiya. Umar confirms each letter. Clear orders, firm time, one meeting place. Couriers receive the packets. Routes fanned across the frontier. Dust swirls as Umar's column crests the ridge toward Al-Jabiya. From the left, Yazid rides out at speed to greet the arriving leader. Abu Ubaidah advances beside Yazid, lifting a hand in solemn welcome. Couriers thread between units, bearing summons to the commander's council. At the fore, Yazid and Abu Ubaidah draw rein within speaking distance. Khalid's cavalry arrives, horses draped in rich silk Yalamite coverings. Umar dismounts, gathers small stones, and steps toward the adorned riders. Pebbles arc, tapping silk and metal, a sharp lesson against swift luxury. Khalid reins in, explaining the coverings are Yalamite worn over true armor. Umar relents, satisfied the finery hides discipline, not indulgence. Startled riders glance to their commander as the rebuke settles in the air. Khalid lifts a panel, revealing mail beneath, voice level and clear. Umar's features ease. He accepts the explanation without further censure. The cavalry relaxes into order, silk settling over steel along the line. A final look passes between Umar and Khalid, agreement sealed in restraint. Overcast light settles as Umar enters Al-Jabiya's sprawling encampment. At Ajnadain, Amr and Shirabul confer, their stance steady and unhurried. Messengers ride the corridor between Al-Jabiya and Ajnadain, tireless and exact. Within Al-Jabiya, Umar's aides arrange councils as tents, thrum with orders. At Ajnadain, Amr dispatches a rider, posture unshaken by distant bustle. At a shallow stream, Umar steps down, loosening his sandals' ties. He removes his footwear and steps into the water, leading the camel by rope. On the bank, Abu Ubaidah watches, concern softening his steady eyes. Umar reaches midstream, pausing as sunlight sparkles around his steps. He steps up the far bank, water trailing from his garment's hem. Umar pauses midstream as Abu Ubaidah voices concern. He warns, such humility will astonish the world's onlookers. Umar answers, striking his chest, honor came through Islam, not pride. The calm ford bears witness to humility as the path awaits. Amr and Shurabil arrive to greet Umar with reverence. They bend in respect, kissing his knee in gratitude and loyalty. Umar gathers them close, a leader's embrace binding hearts. Shurabil steps forward. Umar's welcome is equally warm and steady. Around them, the encampment breathes discipline and quiet purpose. A Jewish elder approaches Umar amid sunlit stalls and shaded awnings. The elder foretells, "You will not return before God grants Alia's opening." Umar's gaze rests on distant hills, silent and searching. The market hushes briefly, sensing a turning of days. The woolen pad doubles as his bedding, proof of austerity. The caravan path gleams faintly, guiding quiet resolve. He presses on, unadorned, toward the promise of Alia. At dawn's mist, Umar inspects his patched Karabas shirt. He asks for the local chief. The Galams are sent to bring him. The morning road waits, quiet as simple needs are tended. The chief offers linen. Umar asks what linen is, and listens. He returns the garment, preferring his own washed, patched shirt. The chief urges him to ride a palfrey to impress the Romans. Umar listens, steady, then glances at his plain shirt and nods no. In the courtyard, Umar mounts a palfrey with a simple cover. He halts, surveying the animal's proud gait and high head. He calls to halt, remarking people ride the devil, and dismounts. He returns to his camel, accepting the humble mount with a smile. Umar arrives near the besieged city and sends terms to the Christians. Beside him, Abu Ubaidah stands, waiting for the response to return. A courier rides off toward the gate with the written safe conduct. Envoys on the walls peer down, as the Muslim lines hold steady. Roman officers receive the proposal atop the battlements. They signal that only the foretold leader may accept surrender. Eyes fix on Umar's distant figure near the standard by the ridge. Drums cease. The wall parties await his formal assent. By torchlight, negotiators gather before the great wooden gate. Terms are spoken: evacuation in 3 days, protection for all. Umar presses his seal to the parchment beside Abu Ubaidah. The parchments are exchanged and witnesses mark their assent. Umar approaches the eastern gate, every step deliberate and unadorned. Abu Ubaidah follows at a respectful distance, head slightly bowed. The city watches in hushed wonder from shadowed recesses. Umar pauses at the gate's threshold, gaze lifted and unshaken. He enters the gate, receiving him without pomp or heraldry. Morning light spills over the cleared precinct and ranks of banners. Umar's voice begins the talbiyah, simple and unwavering. He prays 2 rakahs in the mihrab of David, greeting the sanctuary. Rows of soldiers keep stillness as the morning settles. The precinct breathes with gratitude and resolve at first light. Dawn light filters through high openings into a cool stone hall. Umar stands to lead, voice steady as Surah Sad is recited. The congregation bows and prostrates in unison, hearts subdued. In the second unit, verses of Bani Israel flow with measured cadence. Peace settles as the prayer concludes and dawn brightens. Umar approaches the rock's vicinity, surveying the cleared ground. Umar asks Kab al-Abar about the rock's exact position. Kab points firmly, outlining a suggested plan behind the rock. Umar listens, gaze steady, weighing the counsel without haste. The rock stands quiet, awaiting the decision that will shape the sanctuary. Umar rejects the alignment, eyes firm and purpose clear. He orders the mosque set on the southern side of the sanctuary. Kab bows his head, accepting the command without protest. Umar marks the decision with a measured sweep of his hand. The southern edge awaits the first measured stakes of a new plan. Umar lifts refuse into his cloak, leading by humble, unwavering example. Abu Ubaidah joins beside him, mirroring the act without hesitation. Soldiers nearby notice the example and ready baskets to follow suit. A quiet nod passes between the leaders as the labor gains momentum. Order settles over the platform. Patience and care guide every motion. 10 laborers strain together, baskets heaped and shoulders slick with sweat. A foreman jabs a finger toward the gate, routing loads without delay. Baskets thud into the cart, dust plumes bloom and hang in the heat. A brief pause, hands wipe brows, breaths measured for the next haul. The foreman's shout resets the rhythm, the line steps forward again. 2 Roman converts recount the site's defilement, voices low and grave. Umar listens intently, eyes narrowing at the cruelty once shown here. He gestures firmly to continue until every hidden corner is restored. The converts nod, shoulders easing as purpose replaces old shame. Work resumes with renewed clarity, the platform's lines emerging clean. Umar surveys the mihrab, where grime clings in blackened grooves. He calls Abu Ubaidah, pointing out the stubborn soot in the stone. 2 sweepers hurry over as commanded, tools ready for careful work. Bristles scrape gently, dark water pools and runs into a waiting pan. Umar watches, satisfied as the niche's pale lines begin to return. 2 women pass a guard post, bundles of rags heavy in their arms. A guard murmurs a report. Umar's attention sharpens at the words. He hears how even menstrual cloths were hurled onto the rock in spite. Resolve returns. He turns back toward the sacred precinct and the task. The guard watches him go, posture straightened by the leader's example. A dusty messenger kneels as Heraclius listens, face drawn by fatigue. The report lands like a blow. refuse was heaped upon the rock in Jerusalem. Shame creases the emperor's brow, attendants lower their eyes. He rises with decision and commands, "Cleanse the rock without delay." Carts creak through narrow lanes piled high with rubble and grime. Locals murmur as the mounds shrink, order replaces neglect. Only a stubborn third remains, hard-packed and foul. Work pauses only after victory. Leaders will complete what remains. Umar marks the Qibla line with measured care along sunlit stone. Ka'b records placements while masons stretch cords to stake corners. Umar and Ka'b confer briefly, aligning intention with measurement. Stakes bite the earth. The Umari mosque footprint becomes visible. Timber and stone gather. Plans unfurl amid dust and bright air. Ubaidah and Umar study joinery over a block, gestures precise. Carpenters test the fit. The joint locks cleanly with a tap. Stone, wood, and intent align. The prayer house takes form. Roman cohorts file out in order as the sky burns with evening light. Umar watches from below, counting standards with unwavering focus. Armor rattles softly, the gate yawns, then swallows the last files. Compliance confirmed. Umar lowers his gaze, duty precisely met. Under lantern light, the pact is prepared with solemn precision. Umar affixes his seal, while Abu Ubaidah recites the clauses. The Christian elders watch, relief and gravity mingling. Umar signs. The pact promises safety for people and churches. Clauses are read aloud. Faces soften as trust takes root. At first light, guides lead Umar through narrow, misty lanes. He offers blessings at a doorway, the guide watching quietly. The party moves on as the city slowly stirs awake. At another door, Umar pauses again, offering assurance and peace. Their steps fade into the mist as new day confidence settles. In bright sun, Umar questions Ka'b al-Abar beside the precinct. Ka'b indicates the rock's place and proposes a rearward layout. Maps sketched in dust, the plan's lines begin to emerge. Umar weighs the suggestion, eyes narrowing in consideration. Decision looms, silence holds between teacher and seeker. Umar allocates Palestine's governance with firm clarity. He marks Ramla and Alia, dividing responsibilities evenly. Names of the two Al-Qamas are entered into official rolls. With a final nod, Umar confirms residence for each governor. Orders await sealing for dispatch across the province. In the sunlit yard, new appointments are drafted and reviewed. Judges, treasurers, and inspectors are named with care. Umar inspects each document before sealing approval. Scribes confer briefly, as corrections are marked in the margin. With seals set, the new administration takes shape in daylight. Under a wooden canopy, Umar begins the dawn prayer in serenity. Abu Ubaidah positions himself respectfully behind Umar. As dawn brightens, their silhouettes steady against the courtyard. They bow, surrendering in unity beneath the simple canopy. They complete the prayer as birds circle the brightening precinct. On a muted road, two riders approach Umar with tidings from Alia. The first courier dismounts, offering a sealed note with deference. Umar reads, weighing the calm in Alia and next directives. He nods and issues orders for garrisons along the frontier. Stalls reopen as soldiers stack spears beside fresh swept stones. Umar checks a scale as a merchant measures dried figs. A child watches his patched shirt, curiosity softening the bustle. He advises, fair weights and honest measures build lasting trust. Umar moves on, the market brightening with measured, lawful peace. At a stone well, sunlight glints on the pulley and bucket rim. He drinks deeply, grateful, savoring the cool clarity. He offers the rope to Abu Ubaidah, a shared rhythm returning. They exchange quiet words, recalling hardship and uplift. They stand together, content, before returning to their duties. Before a stone church, priests observe as Umar affirms protection. Abu Ubaidah notes the Roman evacuation terms are fulfilled. Priests listen closely as assurances of safety are reiterated. A seal is shown, order and trust frame the new accord. With calm faces, they turn to depart, understanding, established. The southern edge of the sanctuary is staked for the new mosque. Umar aligns the Qibla line with measured deliberation. Cobb Records details opposite Umar's staking of the corner. Carpenters raise the first beam while Umar observes the line. Cobb finalizes the plan that will be known for generations. Night settles as Umar drafts a circular on discipline and humility. Each clause is weighed carefully against duty and restraint. Abu Ubaidah reviews and adds his steady countersign. The seals are set, and the hall grows spare and quiet. Candles thin to stubs as the final copy is stacked for dispatch. Mist hangs as Umar mounts to depart from the city gate. Abu Ubaidah walks beside the stirrupless saddle in farewell. Their words carry the weight of shared trials and trust. The gate recedes as companions in city wake behind them. They part with a final glance and a blessing unsaid. From the ridge, the sanctified precinct lies bright below. Al-Abbas rides up, sharing the view in wordless gratitude. They pause together, letting the moment settle. A final look, then the road ahead beckons. Al-Abbas falls in beside him as they descend. Sunlight stripes the council hall as reports arrive from Alia. Umar announces the opening of Alia and its dating. Ali listens as messengers' reports are archived carefully. Plans for governance